top of the description box is the link just referred to. So if people want to go and pull up the mind map through that link, it is presently just at the top of the description box below this video. We've got almost 5,000 people have jumped onto this live stream in the first 15 minutes, which looks like we're setting a record today. So many people are fascinated by this case. Just to give a recap then, what is going on here? We had the Lynn Wood tweets at the beginning of the year. I read those out at the beginning of this video. He refers to Epstein. He refers to Isaac Kappy. There's a bridge between the two. Our motto on this channel is end the war on drugs. Take all those resources to start the war on people. And we believe that Kappy had discovered and Epstein was part of this huge intelligence agency honey trap apparatus, kids, and biggest names in the world involved in this. Royal family here in this country, Prince Andrew, the Clinton crime family, etc. And this was covered up for a very long time. It's the bravery of the victims, Virginia Roberts, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, just to name 3 of them. Please support them because they have managed to bring it this far. Some of these super predators are now behind bars. One is dead. We saw the recent arrests of Jean-Luc Brunel. We saw Maxwell get arrested last year. This is a huge credit to the survivors. And also in the description box are the Twitter handles for Virginia Roberts, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer. So please, support them with what they are doing because they have had to fight tooth and nail to bring this case this far. Now, in your introduction there, you did mention that Isaac Kappy was speaking out about Epstein. Could you expand on that, please?
So as most of the listeners may know, for those who don't know, Isaac Kappy came out on July 22nd at 1:33 p.m. in the afternoon. And he was at the Comic-Con concert and he did a, was it Periscope, babe, or did he do Instagram? It was a Periscope. He came out and he said, man, I've been holding it back for a long time. And today's the day, something to the effect, paraphrasing here. He said, I got to call it out. This can't go on. This can't go on. And he said, Seth Green, everyone needs to know Seth Green, my man, is a pedophile. I love you, but it's going on. It has to stop. Then he called out Spielberg, I believe. And I think a little later on, he called out Tom Hanks. He says, it's been going on. And then he goes in later. That was the beginning. And then in the subsequent week, it blew up. It just blew up. And he was approached by different characters who got him on July 24th. He was on Lift the Veil with Nathan Stoltman. He was on Alex Jones on August 1st. He was with Roger Stone there. Alex Jones kind of shun him, but he kind of put the screws to him a little bit, and was, I get it. Alex has to cover his own rear. How do you say it over there? Arse?
That's spelled A-R-S-E, by the way, not A-S-S-S.
Yeah, I know. We'll have you speaking proper English in no time, partner. So, and I know what Alex was doing. He was covering himself and trying to get news out, but he walks that fine line. Some people say he's compromised. Isaac said he was compromised. Isaac put out a map called the Mossad Media Matrix. And for those of you who don't know, Isaac was a B actor, maybe in like less than a B actor. He was in a couple movies. He was in Terminator. He was in Beer Fest. He was in Thor, just little small roles. So he was in the Hollywood scene. Extremely charismatic guy. His passion was music. And if you go to the mind map and click on Isaac Kappy in the center, you'll go down and you'll find all this stuff.
People are asking if there is a specific link to the mind map that we could put in the chat right now. Do you have a specific link to the mind map?
It's out there. Yeah. Let me, you want to drop it here in the,
I'm on your website right now.
Okay. So, go to my website, scan down, to the big orange bar going across the Isaac Kappy mind map. Just scroll down on the front page.
So front page,
scroll down.
Okay. So is that your about page, your front page?
Nope.
Okay.
Click the TPE in the left-hand corner. It'll take you to the front page.
TPE. Yep. Got it.
All right. Scroll halfway down. You'll see a big orange bar with Isaac's face on it in the mind map. Click on that, or just below it. It says click to enter the mind map.
Okay. Halfway down. Let's see.
Just keep scrolling.
View all videos.
And by the way, to answer
yeah, there it is. Got it. Yeah.
And Shaun, to answer your question,
mind map.
Before we came on, I have all the time that you want today. So
brilliant. All right, so everybody who's watching this, I imagine some of you have just done that scrolling yourselves.
There you go.
I am now putting the link in the live chat. So please pick this up from the live chat and we can walk through this together.
And I want to say, first of all, it wasn't just myself that did that. We had a group, a very tight knit group of about 6 to 8 people at any given time in this research group. People I trusted with my life that were out there digging and researching and pulling information in. I had the idea for the mind map, okay, but a number of people contributed to that. I just want to let that be known. This isn't all my research. And other people want to. Some of them wanted to remain anonymous for obvious reasons. They don't want crosshairs on their forehead. But this was a collaborative effort, and credit where it's due. So the mind map is mine. I did build it. I did decide that we needed to put it into. There was so much to the events surrounding the death of Isaac Kappy that you try to explain it to somebody like I did to the FBI, and they look at you like you got two heads. I knew I had to put it in a format to where people could visually begin to understand what was connected where and how, and then the information as it pertained in that thought pattern. So that's why I built that, to make it more accessible. There are other resources out there everywhere across the internet on this. People try to track down what happened to Isaac and all the intricacies involved. Okay, so. But it's there, and it's there's a lot of good info in it. And he was eating dinner at their house one night, and he said, "Hey, we need to talk about chicken. We need to have a conversation about chicken." Isaac took that to mean that he was talking about chicken. The code word, the slang for I think it's little girls or little I think it was little girls of chicken or little boys. I forget which one it is. He took Isaac upstairs and showed him this room, and this room was decked out like a child's room, and they weren't expecting a child, nor did they have a child. He thought that was weird. He then states that took him downstairs in this Malibu house and opened up a false wall, like a bookshelf kind of thing, and into another room. He said, "This is where we keep the children." And that's where, and he looked at him and he laughed. He didn't know what to say of it. He kind of became distant with him at that time, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know really what to do. These were his friends. And he believed all of his heart. I mean, why would you come out and say this in Hollywood? You're connected in Hollywood. You're there. You're friends. You have a great lifestyle. Why would you come out and do this? They said that he was a failing actor. He really wasn't a failing actor. He was transitioning into music because his heart and passion is in music. Have you ever seen Brackets and Jackets Epstein edition? Brilliant. Have you seen that? Where he's singing?
No.
Oh, Shaun, you gotta play Brackets and Jackets Epstein edition. Everyone of you out there, go listen to that after this.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please support our sponsor, NordVPN. As many of you know, years ago, I clicked on a link in an email. It was a phishing scam, and I lost my channel. And it took weeks to get it back. But you can be fully protected from phishing by NordVPN. In fact, loads of people are asking, where can they watch my Sons of Ecstasy documentary? It's not available in the UK. Let's see, United States. There we go. Connecting to the United States. So Nord is the fastest VPN on the planet. So the scammers have got good at creating fake shops online. They take your money, they are gone. But with Nord's Threat Protection Pro, you are protected. Threat Protection Pro is blocking hundreds of millions of scam hits per year. Sometimes pop-up ads containing malware are a nightmare. You're trying to close them, then boop, you go right through. Threat Protection Pro removes these dangerous files from your device. You hear about all of these huge companies getting hacked. Well, if your data is on the dark web, NordVPN's Dark Web Monitor alerts you. You can get an exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 months extra. Link in description box on YouTube. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Link on the screen, nordvpn.com/Attwood, ATTwood. Link in description box if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast.
You're going to love it. He's doing this live Periscope, and he's got this beat that he made up. It's a brilliant, beautiful beat. And people are asking him questions about and about Clintons and about Epstein, and he's freestyling, making a song rhyming about people and these criminals and what's going to happen to them, and everything we need to look into. He's dropping all these clues to this beat. It's about 20 something minutes. It's absolutely beautiful, and he has another one too. But so he then couldn't stand it anymore, and he came out at the Comic-Con on 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon. Here's something interesting, and being an occultist, being someone who studies ancient knowledge, ancient hidden knowledge, sequestered knowledge, I'm a numbers guy, and I look at numbers. Isaac Kappy died on 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon. Okay, I'm so sorry. He came out at 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon, and told the world about and all that. He died on May 13th at 7:22 in the morning. Is when he was on that bridge when the dash cam from the Camp Navajo security dash cam camera caught him. Okay, he died on the 13th of May is the 133rd day. He died at 7:22 in the morning on the 133rd day of the year. He came out and talked about on 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon, and I mean it's exact. The time and date of Isaac Kappy's death is an exact reversal of when he first came out and talked about this openly. If that doesn't blow your mind, okay, I don't know what will. Go to the mind map for all you guys listening and click on ritual and numerology. And there's a whole section on all the numerical and ritual similitudes and numerology as it affects vibrationally into this entire public sacrifice ritual, in my opinion. I do not believe that Isaac was, I'm going to bring someone on here in a moment that you guys can hear. And for the record, for those of you who don't know, during the course of this investigation, I investigated somebody who knew Isaac, who was a very, well, not very close, but at the time, it's all that he had. They had grown close the last week, friend of Isaac's. And I interviewed her, and the interview is in the interviews section of that. I did change the voice on her at the time because she was scared and asked me to. She has since come out and claimed that was her. Her name is Alicia. She's my fiance. During the course of this investigation, we fell in love, and we truly did. She was in the research group because she was so close to Isaac and wanted to know what happened. A lot of you've heard the term the Famalam Burgesa.
Nope.
Have you heard that? Okay. Isaac compiled, and we'll get into that right here. Isaac compiled a group of people through, well, they were all in a Keybase account at first. All right. Because Isaac was trying to build this underground movement to glean information to where he could bring it in, be like a clearinghouse, and then move it through direct channels to Washington, to the feds, to whomever, and to get the pedophilia stopped. That's what he was working on. He's building an underground social media network called Unseal Epstein. That's what he was doing. Okay. That then got transferred over to a Telegram account. And within this Telegram account, there was a group. There still are groups. In fact, the Famalam still exists on there. There was the big room. There was the Famalam room, the fam. There's a couple of them, but the big room was where everybody was at. And out of that, when I started researching that, someone from them, from the fam, reached out and said, "Hey, I want to pull you into the fam. People in here have some information if you're putting it together." They then brought me into the fam. That's when Alicia found me in there and said, "Hey, I have information for you." I was with him the Wednesday and the Saturday before he died, for the whole entire day, both days. I drove up from Orange County to see him, to spend time with him, and she'll tell you that story here personally in a moment, or whenever you're ready for it. And so I was put in touch with her. She was in the research group. After I posted it, I was wrapping up I had a tour out of San Francisco last summer, and we picked up in San Francisco and did it was a Dutch group for 3 weeks. We went all through the Southwest, dropped them back off, and then afterwards I said, "Hey, I'd like to meet you," because we were friends. So I drove down there, and I took a bus actually, and we hung out for 2 weeks and absolutely fell in love. And a month later, I said, "You're the one I want for the rest of my life." Oh. And she says, "I know." And I said, "Do you want to come to Phoenix since no one can afford to live in California?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And we moved in, and it's been magic ever since. And of course, there's conspiracy theories that come from that. that we orchestrated it. And it was organic. It's the way it happened. Just how I told you exactly how it all happened is God is my witness.
Alicia. So do you want to tell us, Alicia, how you came to get involved in this Isaac Kappy case?
Sure.
Closer.
Well, some of my friends were watching Isaac and telling me that I needed to get online and start watching him. So I put it off for a little while. This was early, right after he came out, at the Comic-Con. And I put it off a little bit. And around February, I started watching, and I joined the Fam Lam chat. And I kind of sat back because I didn't know, there were a lot of people in there, and I sat back, but I would message Isaac once in a while, and we would have a little bit of a chat. And in May, when things really started to go downhill, he put out a little note in the chat asking if he could have some company. And I lived with no traffic about an hour and a half, almost 2-hour drive away from him. So I kind of waited to see if anybody else in the area was going to pick up his request. And in the afternoon, I asked, and nobody had picked up his request. So I told him I'd grab some grub and bring it out and cook for him. And so I went out and saw him on Wednesday. A thing I don't do generally. I don't do internet dating, didn't do any of that type of stuff. Meeting people from the internet was it's not a habit of mine. And I was a little bit nervous about it. I'd watched him and saved, there were days I saved his videos I lived alone, and I'd wait to watch his videos when it was time to eat. So I had company. He became part of my daily life. He was working for a cause that is very personal to me. And I wanted to support him. So I drove out there, and we had a visit, and it was about between 8 and 8:30 when I got out there, and I made him some dinner, and he sat down at the bar next to me in the kitchen. And, when I first got there, he opened the door and let me in, and, it was a little uncomfortable and awkward. And so I just turned around and I said, "Hey, let's ease this up. Let's have a hug." So we hugged for a minute, and he said, "Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you so much." And throughout the evening, then, once we broke the ice, I had many hugs with Isaac. He was so distraught. And this was only the beginning of the distress that I would see in him, but, in the days over the last few days in the week. And, but he would stop and come around because he had a little pacing pattern. He'd get up and pace around the kitchen table and come in the kitchen and hug me and then go sit down. And then he'd get up and pace around the table and down the hall and back. And he was really nervous and anxious. And so we sat down, and he offered a prayer of gratitude for the meal we had together. And we had some conversation, and we talked about a little bit about what was going on and what he felt that he had done. He felt he had betrayed his president, and he felt that he had probably been marked by Q for brackets. And but he didn't say much more to me about it than that. And he was really upset about it and sad about it. And he told me that he had spent a lot of time in meditation and I'm talking fast, I'm anxious.
It's okay, you're fine.
Thank you. He spent a lot of time in meditation and was really feeling sad about where he was at with everything. He felt he'd done something wrong, and he felt he had, but he didn't tell me what. He didn't tell me what he'd done, and he didn't really want to talk about it. He more just focused on the fact that he knew that people were really disappointed in him. So, he in his pacing, he stopped at one point, and he looked at me, and he said, the most important thing in this world is love. And we must remember to stay in the light. When we are not in the light, we are not working from a point of love. And when we are not working from a point of love, we make mistakes. And he said, stay in the light. You tell everybody that I said to remember to stay in the light. And, that night he told me also to remember to guard your thoughts and protect them. Your thoughts can be seen and read and heard by people that shouldn't have access to them now. And he advised me very cautiously. He said, please remember to guard your thoughts, protect them. Even in your own mind, you must protect them. And, he was stressed and his body was tight. And so I sat him in the kitchen chair and I said, sit down. And I'm a retired massage therapist. So I rubbed his neck and shoulders for him and kind of got him to relax a little bit. And I noticed when I was working up around the bones in his head up here and even on the back of his head, he had a knot about this size. And it was extended from his head, at least this far from his head, probably a good full inch. It was a really nasty knot. And he asked me not to touch his head because it hurt too much. And, so I stayed around his neck and shoulders and he started to relax. And he said, I really think that I can get some sleep and I'm really tired right now. And I said, okay, well then I'm gonna head out. But let's get together again in a couple days and I'll come out and see you and we'll spend the whole day together. So we made plans for me to go see him on Saturday and I did. So I said goodnight and I saw him again on Saturday.
Between that time is when he cut that video. She saw him Wednesday. He cut his last Periscope on Friday, just for context. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of important.
Yeah. So I left early Saturday morning. My girlfriend came over and babysat my pooch for me. And, cause I knew it would be a long day. And, when I arrived, he was in a much more agitated state than he was on Wednesday. He was very nervous and very anxious, and he was in such a state that his body would get really tight and his legs would get tight and his arms would come up and he was just having whole body clenching. He was so upset and distraught, and he would check the window every time he heard a car pass. He would look out the back window. He'd run down the hall and check his bedroom window. He was terrified. And he told me that day that I asked him straight out, Isaac, I need to know if you're suicidal. I need to know. I did prevention text line for about a year, and they trained us to just come out and ask. So I asked him, are you suicidal? We're all very worried about you. And he said, I'm not suicidal. He said, but what's coming for me? Suicide might be a gentler option. He said, they're going to tear me limb from limb. And he says, I just don't know if I can go through that. And it was horrible. It was horrible to see a man so terrified and feel the energy of his fear for his life. People ask me, is there anything he told you that about, what he said in his last Periscope, in any of this? Is there anything that he said to you? He told me that he was surrounded by some people that he believed to be other than they were. And something between them happened. It was a group of them. And something between them happened. And he discovered that they were not who they said they were. And I believe after all this time and the research that we've done and the information that's been brought to us, that at the moment that he discovered that these people were not who he was, that's when he realized there had been a mistake made. And the mistake was not a malicious mistake. The mistake was not something other than he trusted people and shared things with them that he realized they were the wrong people to share it with. And I believe that I really truly believe, knowing Isaac, that this was the thing that blew his mind. And he said, you know, in the blink of an eye, I understood. And my mind was blown, and it devastated him. It literally devastated him. That day while he was there with all of the pacing, he was continuing that frantic pacing. And when he got tired, he'd go lay on his bed, and he asked me at one point, can you please lay down here by me and hold me? I'm so tired and I'm so scared. And so I lay down by him and I stroked his face and I wrapped my arms around him and I held him really tight for a while. And I noticed when he got up that there was blood on his pillow, and that knot on his head had been bleeding. And he said, hey, I need to get out of the house. Let's run down the street to get some cigarettes. So we literally ran down the street to get some cigarettes. And he, much taller than I am and much leggier than I am. And it was, I had a tough time keeping up. And we ran down the road to get some cigarettes and came back, and we ran all the way back up the road with the cigarettes. And he smoked that pack of cigarettes down he probably had 3 left in about 45 minutes. And it was, you know, this was in May, and where he was living, there was a big mountain behind him and lots of cold weather to come in. And it had been really cold, and weather came in and a storm came in. It was clear when I got there, but when we were standing out in the yard, these big fat clouds rolled in, and he looked at me and he said, oh, the storm is upon us, and it is upon me. And he ran in the house and he said, I want some tacos. Let's get in the car. And so I said, all right, let's go. And he opened the door and he ran to my car. He said, unlock the door. And he ran to the car and he jumped in the car, and I came and I was behind him getting in the car, and we left. He gave me directions to get where we were going. And we kind of drove around the area a little bit. I'm sure we could have gotten there in a much more direct pattern, but I think he was looking to make sure we hadn't been followed. And the taco place that we went to was kind of in an older part of town. In California, you have these places that were once businesses that sort of became industrial areas. And so there was this little taco joint sort of in the middle now of this relatively industrial area, and it was a Saturday, so the businesses were closed, and the foot traffic and the driving traffic was very light. And as we made a left-hand turn onto the street where the taco place was, we had no sound. We were just kind of being quiet in the car, and he was watching everything. No radio, no music. Suddenly inside of my car was the loudest sound of music I've ever heard. I've been to concerts where there was 100,000 watts of bass and felt it in my bones and heard it in my bones, but there was distortion. You know, sound when it's very loud creates distortion against your ears. Well, this sound came into my car and it was so loud in my bones like that, but crystal clear sound. And it was Phil Collins' song, and at the chorus, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. And we both jumped so hard, and I slammed my hand on the radio like I was surprised that it had come on. And Isaac asked me, he said, do you hear that? Do you hear that sound? I said, yeah, I hear that. Where the hell is that coming from? And he says, I've been hearing music and I've been hearing sounds, and it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And it was, again, it was so loud. My windows were rolled up. There was no party outside at one of these buildings. Nothing like that was going on. When we got out of the car, the sound stopped. But as soon as we got out of the car, it started to hail. And it started hailing balls of hail the size of dimes and it just poured and poured and poured. And he ordered lunch, and he was so sweet. He insisted he pay for it, and he wanted to sit there and eat it, but he was so scared he couldn't. So we packed up we sat down and started to eat, and he goes, I can't do this here. We have to go home. So I packed him up and we took him home, and he inhaled his lunch. I don't even know if he enjoyed it. Well, let me tell you, on Saturday, it was really hard to hold energy, to keep a feeling, even to try and bring a little bit of peace for Isaac. If I didn't lay down by him, we'd sit on the couch, and he sat on one end and I sat at the other, and I rubbed his feet for him. And I noticed, where your toes come and they meet your feet. I noticed that he had scabs across the tops of both of his feet. And he told me that he'd been praying and praying and praying. And I can only imagine that those scabs came from him kneeling on the floor and standing up, and kneeling on the floor and standing up. And, it was a very heavy day when I had to go home that day, especially with the way things went in the next 20 or so hours after that.
You guys had made plans?
We made plans. We made plans on Saturday when I left. He was going to come on Sunday, the next day. Either I was going to drive out and pick him up, or he was going to come and drive out and stay with me for a week or so. I paint, and I had a big studio in my apartment, and I told him he could have all the canvas and paint he wanted, and he could relax and know that he was in a safe place where nobody would find him. And he said, I would really like that. I would really like that a lot. So we made a plan and said goodbye, and I should have brought him with me. I should have just made him pack a bag and come. It might not have stopped the inevitable, but it might have given us a few more days. God.
Someone's fault.
I can't say anything more about that. I talked to him on Sunday, and he told me, let me get back to you. I said, all right, let's talk about when we're going to get together. He said, all right. He says, I'll get back to you in a little bit. And a couple hours later, he said, he said, I really need to go see my mom. So I'm going to pack up some things, and I'm going to head out, and I'll see you when I get back. He had plans to come back, and he didn't even make it to his mom's. So, Isaac was just like the rest of us. He was a real person. None of us are perfect. He wasn't either, but his heart was in the right place. His passion was in the right place for what he was doing. And I get really disappointed and angry when I see people trivializing his life and using it for something else. The work we did on this and the work we are doing on this is for Isaac. It's not for us. It's not for some files and things that people believe are out there. It's not for any of that.
And it's not for money, and it's not for fame, and it's not for a stupid YouTube channel. And it really angers me. And my detractors know that it quite frankly pisses me off, because that's really not true. I took 4.5, 5 months off of work, guiding. I was turning down tours every day. I said, I'd like to take, but I can't, and guys don't make a lot of money, man. We don't, you get $300 a day or something, and it's okay, I guess, but it's not, for like a labor, but it's not great. And I was sleeping in a garage at the time. I had to move in. I didn't know. I was a much different place. I mean, it's a miracle. My state now as to where I was a year and a half ago. I was sleeping in a garage on a trailer that I used to move my stuff so that my boys could sleep in a room upstairs and go to a decent school. And I made that sacrifice. And in the middle of that sacrifice I was making there, the Isaac Kappy thing fell into my lap. And I don't know. I don't know how many people would have picked that up, but I said, you know what? This is something that's got to be done. I really did. Honest to God, I said, no one's going to touch this. Someone has to do it. And it was a moment, when you feel that you've been touched, and when you know God's talking, when you know something's real, it was like that. And I said, this has got to be done. And I dove into it, and it's like something else took over me, and I investigated and documented and brought people together and started, linking it out. And the rest is all history. This isn't for, and people, it's for a YouTube channel. It ain't for a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel's gone. My Periscope channel's gone. What else is gone? What else am I? I'm kicked off of everything. I'm surprised I'm still on Twitter as of today, but I posted something earlier, so I might not be. I got a website, and it's barely monetized, and this was for Isaac. Okay. And again, no material on Isaac Kappy on my website is monetized. My other stuff is, because, I work in research prior, but none of it is. So I want everyone to get that. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Just so you know, Isaac, when I was there spending time with him, he told me that how much time he spent speaking to survivors of SRA and speaking to survivors of trafficking, and that he had call after call after call. He didn't just work to expose all of these elites who are doing these horrible things. He actually gave his life energy and his time and his heart to people who have been through these things. And he told me, he said, you would think that this is a thing that would drain your soul. He said, but I might be the only person they have to listen to them. And it fills my soul to be able to give them love and compassion and understanding and validate their stories. And this is who he was. And he was a tender soul. And his purpose truly was, out of all the things that, his mom told me he knew when he was a little boy that he would bring a present to the world. Now, he wrote a song called The Present. It's a wonderful song, but the present to the world was him, was his heart. And this is why we do this.
So,
and people are saying how brave you are for speaking out, Alicia. Both of you guys.
I was terrified. I should tell them what happened.
Well, you tell what happened afterwards. I mean, that's all part of it.
When we got news on Tuesday that Isaac had died, within an hour, I was working in my office, and within an hour I had a window come up on my computer screen, and my computer had been hacked, and this window came up, and then I could see somebody moving through all the back parts of my computer. They got my business bank accounts. They got my personal bank accounts. They got all my personal information that you think is safe and encrypted in your computer. Well, let me tell you, there are people that know how to hack in there and get through all your safeguards and get your shit anyway. And